We have some very interesting news to discuss today as a report just came out from a notable reporter highlighting that the Blue Jays are looking to make a big move and that a move could happen as soon as this week. So to break that down in this episode of Jays Digest, as well as the Jays are making roster moves, they have signed a catcher to their minor league team. So stay tuned for all that and much more in this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? Nick Gosse here, along with Peter Vryonis, who is on the phone today, so he's going to be there with the audio. But we have a lot to discuss today. Peter, a lot is going down in Jays land. Obviously, everyone's waiting to hear about a roster move, about transactions happening, and a report came out the Jays could be making a move as soon as today. But Peter, how you doing? You're on the phone, and it's a weird time to be a Jays fan right now.
Yeah, we're kind of in limbo right now, Nick. We're not exactly sure what to expect from this front office. They put all their eggs in the Ohtani basket, and we know that fell through. I don't want to dwell on it any longer. I think there are still ways that the front office can make this team significantly better heading into next season. It's exciting. We're wondering what's next, and there's still a lot of big names out there that are available.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. Before we get on all the reports today, quick reminder to hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 11,000, so go down, hit the button. But Peter, let's get into the first topic of the day, which is a major move could be coming. Now, this report dropped by Robert Murray yesterday, and amidst all the reporters kind of hating on Jays fans, hating on, not Jays fans, but Jays, Toronto as a country, specifically John Heyman, he came out and said, I expect Toronto to be active in the market in free agency and trade. I wonder if they turn their attention to Bellinger. He also hyped up Toronto, and he's basically saying that I expect this week or two to be incredibly active for the Blue Jays as phones have been lighting up like a Christmas tree following the Ohtani race. Now, Peter, there's a few different targets we can take from this. Obviously, the report is saying that the Jays are going to make a move. They're going to make a move very soon. Suspect this week. Now, if we look at this tweet by Chris Black here, he kind of highlights some calls that the Jays could make. We're not going to discuss Cody Bellinger in this video because I'll probably save that for another video. That's an obvious target. But Chris Black kind of names, you can see on the screen now, a bunch of different players from Cleveland, the Angels, and I want to focus on Chicago White Sox player Luis Robert a little bit here. But Peter, it seems like a move is going to come, and I think they're going to make a big splash. Do you have any names in particular you think the Jays are going to go for? And do you think Luis Robert is an option? I keep seeing his name up, so I figured I'd bring him up.
Absolutely, Luis Robert is an option. I mean, you look at him, and he could solve a lot of the Jays' problems.
Yeah.
Guy that hits for power, that can play some outfield at a pretty decent level. Obviously doesn't get on base at the clip that you'd like, but he's one of the superstars in the game today. And that's why I'm saying we can't keep dwelling on Shohei Ohtani because there are so many good players out there. The game has never been in a better place when we're talking about depth and just overall talent. And the White Sox, they have some uncertainty with their finances. Their TV deal, don't know what's going on over there. So they're looking to shed payroll, and Luis Robert making a lot of money for the next 3 years could definitely be a target for the Jays alongside maybe Jose Ramirez, another player, Guardians trying to shed some payroll. So there are avenues to make this team a lot better heading into next season, Nick.
Yeah, and that's what Chris Black kind of focuses on. He focuses on teams that need to shed payroll because of the impending TV deals and things like that. And the big three kind of mentioned are Ramirez, like you said, Christian Yelich of the Brewers, and Luis Robert. And looking at Robert's stats here, you can see last season was his big breakout season. He was an all-star. He finished 12th in MVP voting, and he's been a great hitter for the most part of his career, especially last year. He's a 5-tool player, and he's a guy that would it take Ricky Tiedemann? Most likely, and whether you'd like to give that up or not, I know there's varying opinions down a lot of you guys watching, but he would be a guy who would have under control for, I believe, 3 more years, and he seems to fit the Blue Jays mold in the sense of we need an outfielder. Who knows where exactly he'd play with the Varsho fit, but it would make sense, and when you're looking at a specific move, aside from maybe Cody Bellinger, Yamamoto, those are the 2 big guys, and bringing back Matt Chapman, I think the only way they make a significant change to this team is via trade, and whether the White Sox want to give up on Robert this early is a bit unknown, but Peter, I think he would be the missing piece to this Blue Jays team, especially if you shore up and re-sign Matt Chapman in this case.
Yeah, and the White Sox got to shed payroll, like we said. That's one of their big mandates heading into next season, and to rebuild their farm system. Obviously, you look at Robert, and he can be part of the solution in Chicago, but at the same time, they're not going to compete in the next 3 years. At least you don't think so. You never know in the AL Central, one of the weaker divisions. So they're not going to compete anytime soon. I don't think he's going to re-up after his 3 years are over and he hits free agency. So definitely a guy that I have circled on my radar if I'm the Blue Jays front office. And the same thing with Jose Ramirez. I know he has that no trade clause, and he might not want to come to Toronto. He ultimately has the final say, but Cleveland, the grass isn't looking too green on their
Yeah.
side. So they're going to look to shed payroll and trade guys as well. They're in the market to trade Emmanuel Clase as well, is what I saw. So some moves are going to go down.
Yeah, moves are going to happen sooner than we think. And again, according to Robert Murray here, expect this week or two to be incredibly active. Obviously, not only for the Jays, but in the market in general. We'll keep an eye on Yamamoto. But ultimately, I think Luis Robert and Jose Ramirez would be the two guys. And again, the big no trade clause is an issue for Ramirez. But if they can, I can guarantee you Ross Atkins is at least trying to make a phone call on one of those guys, especially after swinging on Ohtani. That being said, we don't want to necessarily have Ross Atkins overpay or overpay for a signing of any of the free agents or in the trade overpay your assets. But I think ultimately they'll make a decent move going forward. And one more quick thing I do want to mention here was from a report, and it basically said the Jays have been connected a lot to JD Martinez, and they basically asked the reporter if this is a realistic opportunity. He said yes, the Jays roster needs its Brandon Belt, and the Blue Jays have interest in Martinez as a veteran run producer, and Martinez isn't slowing down and should be available on a 2-year deal. Peter, I saw some rumblings of a 2-year, $35 million deal. Just want to get your quick opinions on this before I move on to the final topic.
I'd be all in on that. I think this would be an upgrade over Brandon Belt. Yes, he's a right-handed bat. Maybe you'd like a lefty in that spot as your everyday DH, considering the balance of the lineup, but 33 home runs, 105 RBIs last year. Nothing to sniff at, Nick. So definitely I'd be in on JD Martinez. There's just so many names out there that can help this team. And you got to believe that Ross Atkins is going to try to swing a big move here because the Jays are not some 70-win team that was hoping Shohei would come and save the day. That's not what they are. They're an 89-win team. They're just a couple of pieces away. Shohei Ohtani would have been the piece to get them over the top, but they're a couple of very good players away from being in that title contention. And I think it's not too far-fetched to say that if they get a couple of these guys, that they can definitely compete come October.
Yeah, and all hope is definitely not lost, and I would also agree. Give me Martinez on a 2-year, $30 million deal, whatever it takes. I can see him producing for a while, even though he does not play in the field at this point of his career. But let's quickly get into the second topic before we wrap up. And the Jays made an interesting move yesterday, and it could actually matter because I feel like we did this last season with the Heineman trade. We said it could have an impact, and it definitely did last season, especially given the durability of Danny Jansen and Alejandro Kirk. The Blue Jays and Peyton Henry have agreed to a minor league contract. Now, in case you're unfamiliar with Peyton Henry, Peter, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him because I wasn't. A Jays prospect Twitter kind of gave us the breakdown. He has solid power and a feel for the barrel, but more of a ground ball hitter. Good bat-to-ball skills in the zone, strikes out a lot, and seems to be a solid defender, catcher depth for Kirk and Jansen. Now, Peter, I don't suspect this to be more than catcher depth for Tyler Heineman, who signed elsewhere. He's no longer with the Jays. He was claimed on waivers, I believe, a couple of weeks ago or a month ago. Ultimately, this is catcher depth, and most likely we might see this guy in a Jays uniform given how these injuries have been going for the Blue Jays catching staff. But an interesting guy. Any quick thoughts on this? I mean, it makes sense. It had to be done, and the first move of hopefully more to come for Ross Atkins.
Yeah, or depending on how much confidence they have in him, maybe you look to trade one of your catchers for the second consecutive offseason. I wouldn't really rule that as a possibility here because Jano and Kirk have made up a really good tandem. But I don't know. It's possible. I could see him playing some kind of role in 2024 for this Blue Jays team, but not really something too expanded. I think he's more of a third catcher and taking over for Tyler Heineman in that backup role.
Yeah, and Hyman only played, like, I think 20 or so games last season, but ultimately, he's there. The Jays had to have someone they trust, and it seems like he has a bit of experience. But that'll wrap up the video. Let us know in the comment section down below what your thoughts are on Luis Robert, and out of this list of players here, which player would you want to see on the Blue Jays? That'll wrap it up. If you want to check our video yesterday, click on your screen now, and we'll see you tomorrow.